And our presenter for this afternoon's insightful dialogue is BK Santiago, Navila, also known as Santi, also known as Shanti, which means peace. Santi is by profession a creative producer and organizational strategist, and he travels anywhere, wherever his profession takes him. The beauty and the benefit of attending such sessions via Zoom is that we can have great opportunity to have great presenters nowadays from anywhere in the world. And so Santi is going to speak with us from New York. Santi is, as I know him, a very gentle, kind, ever ready and cooperative soul that I have come to learn and to know him. And he has been practitioner of Raja Yoga meditation for now over 20 years. So without taking any more of his time, his precious time that he's going to be guiding us, moving into the to the point, welcoming our dear brother, Shanti, dear Shanti.
Shanti, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Thank you for joining and taking the time to be present through this conversation. It's going to be, hopefully, we will be able to exchange lots of experience, knowledge. This is but a stepping stone for your own entry into experimentation with some ideas that we will sort of play with. So, but before starting, I always like to start with a few minutes of silence so that we can really come into the space fully and bring all of our aspect, our mind, our feeling, our body and our soul together to be present to the discussion. So that's one of the reasons why also I am not on camera, and I suggest that we all just listen. So let's take 2 minutes to just go inward and be present. Come into the space of just the feeling of I am here now. Just let go of everything outside. Come into the moment. Come into yourself. Forget about what you will do afterwards, tomorrow, a week from now. Be here in this moment. Be here in the now. Be present to I am. I am. I am. Hello again, everybody who's joining us, and welcome, and to returning to the point. And it's going to be a very abstract idea, to the point, to an idea, to the point, to myself, to the point, to the beginning, the original. So we're going to explore what that could mean from many different perspectives. And we're going to just allow the imagination to go a little wild. So for this particular session, for the next for the time that we spend together, we're going to really forget about anything that we've learned for just a few minutes. And we're going to just really allow ourselves to become a blank slate where anything can happen. It's an adventure. An adventure of just being stimulated in all aspects of ourselves to understand how deep we can go, and also the stuff that is yet hidden from us. So potential, possibility, the unlimited. And we're going to go into this exploration by starting with a simple question. What do I choose to remember or forget? Have you noticed that sometimes we speak and we speak with intention, and there is something there's an idea behind that's governing the way we are using words. So our memory becomes activated. It's propelled by other feelings, sensations. Sometimes we just completely forget. And it's a mechanics of the situation that we feel that we're in. Sometimes we feel safe, secure. And sometimes, because it's so different, so unknown, we forget. We forget sometimes who we are, what we are. We forget our experience. We forget the things that we learned. So sometimes it becomes very interesting to notice that I am choosing to either remember or to forget. And is it just a choice, or is it something that's automatic that's happening in my mind? So another question to ask is, what is or what am I churning in my mind? And the word churning is very specific. Churning means it's, you know how we churn milk to make butter? And you churn it and you churn it. It's kind of the same thing when you're making bread. You're doughing, you're working the dough in order to add flavor, but also to take the air out and to mold it into the form that you want. So churning is also similar to that. You are working with ideas internally. You're working them so they can cooperate with you, to mold them into a specific meaning and into a specific purpose. So we create with our mind, in order to create a world for whatever situation we're in. And so we coming to that sensation that this is an act. What happens inside of me? What happens inside of me is not automatic, right? That there's something there that actually is governing it. How many of you have actually said to yourselves, my mind is going wild. Today, my mind is not cooperating. Anyone? No one's had the experience of their mind. Please go ahead and speak. So the way this works is that you unmute your mic when you're ready to speak and share, and we will all listen. And then when you are complete, just say complete so that the next person who needs to speak can go ahead. So please, who's raising their hand, please go ahead and comment.
It's kind of synchronistic. I was just having a conversation about just that very subject. You know, the mind is quite difficult to control, and it, you know, for me, it's about just remembering to surrender and ask for help, because, but the trick is to catch the mind when it's doing that. It often runs wild, like wild horses that you can't control. But as to your question, the answer is a resounding yes. But part of my own spiritual work is to be very grateful for the fact that I noticed, so I can make an adjustment and not spend too much time in self-criticism for having allowed it to happen, but rather to, you know, make that shift and really surrender that, you know, I am human and it's going to happen, and to gradually keep refining my consciousness so I don't have to go there as often, perhaps. Anyway, thank you. Complete.
Yes. Anyone else would like to share their experience with that sense of that mind is going a little wild?
Yes, I have something to say.
Yes.
Yes. Because yesterday something happened here where a soul left suddenly. That I was a little disturbed. I just want to focus. Just it has happened. It happened. You cannot be just going here and there, but you have to be firm and just be yourself and remember that you are a point. That's why I wanted to meditate today.
Yeah. Well, yes, and it's so important for us to, you know, the question is, what is churning in the mind? So the relationship, when I speak this way about what's happening to me, is very different from what am I churning in my mind. And so it's really important that it's a transition that occurs, a shift in my awareness that occurs. So one is I'm not here present. It's the mind, the mechanism of this part of my body that's actually creating. And then the other is I am the one who's creating these thoughts. I am the one who's creating this experience. And so we're going to look at what that shift means and how important remembering to remember. To remember is to remember who I am, to remember this world that I understand, to remember all the aspects of myself, and that to shorten when we do get into forgetting, that we spend very little time in it. Because it's not about the fact that we forgot, it's about becoming aware that that forgetfulness is occurring and then shifting it. Coming from what is happening in that mind to what am I creating, and then taking responsibility for that and also creating choice. I choose to go from this point into a new point in this way. So we're going to explore how we can strengthen our ability to go into the space of that sense of remembering, that sense of responsibility to ourselves, that sense of self-love. So this is going to be an exploration on increasing self-love, self-possibility, self-creativity, self-patience, and many, many other qualities that we will add through this process. But it's important for us to know the difference and to really be able to work with our language. And some of you who have attended other experiences with me know that I hold the word as the beginning. The words I use to describe, to create meaning, create my world, both internally and externally. So I'm always very careful with the words that are used, because they're the beginning of the world I will experience. They bring quality, they bring the experience, they bring materiality, they bring imagination, they bring feeling, and they bring other memories. So paying attention to these things will be our remembering. We are remembering to do this in a way that is fruitful. Would anybody else like to add any other experiences of this phenomena?
Marie Kusum, yes, brother, the mind is always running and running, you know, even if you sit for meditation or like say to yourself, I'm a soul, and the other person is a soul, I don't know. The next second you can realize that the thoughts are somewhere else. So yeah, like with the guidance of the Brahma Kumaris and whatever we are learning up to this moment. So I really like, you know, try to remind myself, because even in the morning Baba said you have to be Manmanibba. And you know, it's a kind of a struggle also, you know. But also at the same time, I say to myself, no. And especially if when you're working with other people who have negative feelings, then again I say, oh, no. The person I see is not the person, it's a soul. So I had to bless, you know, I'm in a position to bring myself to the soul realization. But it's like, I don't know, it's running at a rate, to be honest.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a wonderful play that we're experiencing these days.
Exactly.
That, we have so much stimulation, so many things that are shifting, changing. The situations are constantly in flux. They're moving from one location to another, from one idea to the next. And so it's a lot to keep up with. And so it also causes us to speed our own process if we allow it to. So we have to understand that I am running, that I am creating at the speed that I choose to, right? So that I remain in stability. So the speed, the time in which I operate becomes very important. So my relationship to timing becomes important, so that I remember the right thing at the right time. And so we're going to play around with lots of these ideas and the kind of relationships we can create with these ideas, so that they don't become just words that we repeat like a mantra, but instead they become our reality. We become the embodiment of these words, so that they just are so easy for us to just slip into them. We slip into them and become them in the world. So that's what we're going to play with, becoming the word in action. So coming to the point, and that is the point of I am what? Understanding what I am, the quality. So all these, we're going to play a little bit with these ideas. Would anybody like to share one more experience in this idea of what do I remember, what do I forget, and where's my mind? Is my mind behaving?
It keeps connecting with bodily relations. If someone is not well or something is going on in someone's life, thoughts still come in the mind.
Yeah. So we choose to remember, and we keep in the mind, we churn the present moment. So we're working in the temporary, the passing moment, the passing scene in the film, in the play, instead of working from I am an eternal being, the eternity of time, right? The eternal cycle of time, of karma. So we're going to play around also. How can we shift from really looking at any scene that is present in our moment and really being able to put it into a context that gives me possibility and power, stability, so that I can actually then in turn give what's required so that I can bring peace, bring love to the moment. So by stabilizing myself, by putting it into the right context and not looking at it from a temporary perspective, but looking at it also from the eternal perspective. Who am I eternally? Who are they eternally? What is this moment eternally? So that this moment can freely go without an attachment to it, but we remain witnesses and detached because we understand that there is this aspect of perfection that's occurring before our eyes, right? So we go into trust, we go into faith. And one of the things that sometimes causes us to remember or forget is the external influences. There's so many external influences, aren't there? From stories we hear right now, one of the most the strongest form of influence is social media or any type of media, right? Because the majority of people are receiving their sense of reality, their sense of the moment, their sense of this is occurring, this is who we are, this is what we are, this is what is happening to us. And then we have all these spheres of influence that are being catapulted to us, right? So just imagine circles of sound. Each one of those circles brings in the influence of a particular aspect of your life. Your education, your age has a story behind it. Your gender has a story behind it. The laws that are governing this country, this city, are behind it. Our cultural references. I come from this place. The stories that we were told as children of how to behave, what to do, what not to do. So all of these things, all these sounds begin to, all at once, begin to sound in our minds. And sometimes it becomes a little confusing, chaotic, out of control. I want you to take a moment to close your eyes for a second, but not just yet. I want you to look at this image, and I want you to look at it carefully and identify one of those spheres of influence where you feel most captured by in some aspect of what is occurring to you today. Did everybody understand that? So look at an influence, an external influence that is distracting your attention from what matters and is creating this pull for your attention, this pull, because it's creating something inside of you that is overwhelming your senses. Is that understood?
Yes.
Okay, so just look at it for a few seconds, and I want you to just close your eyes, and I want you to just put it in your mind's eye, that situation, that one thing that is causing you to really be uncertain, or perhaps be out of yourself, whether very gently or not so much out of yourself, but just a little bit out of yourself. Sometimes that's enough to cause troubles. So whatever level of out of yourself you feel, just think about that one thing that is causing that.
I have a question.
Yes.
What if I'm looking at this and I don't feel any of these makes me out of myself, but I feel looking at this certain things in this circle that other people have put on me, and I feel restricted because of that. I don't see myself restricted with any of these things, but certain, do you understand, like your nationality, my gender, that other people have put me on me, but I see myself as a spirit, but the relationships I'm in are forcing me in these do you understand what I'm saying, or no?
Yes, I do. So I want you to think about, identify what that is. Okay, even if you feel that it's not pertaining to you in that sense, but it is influencing you in the sense that other people are inflicting this upon you, I want you to focus on that, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Explore it. Yeah, absolutely. So let's take 30 seconds to just continue to create that image and focus on that one thing that right now, today, this thing is causing me to go outside of myself a little bit, to forget.
May I speak, please,
Yes,
Marie?
please.
As she said, it's none of these things, but in the environment that I live or wherever I go, the other people's negativities are things that's bothering me. So I don't know where I fit in this circle.
Okay, so you can
maybe
say,
I'm also wrong. Maybe my thinking is also not, I'm still human, still learning, and we are also living like not Nivasavasi, right? Because we don't have that. The 4 o'clock thing up here. So we are like also living in a world crammed with a lot of negativity, negative forces. But none of these things are affecting me, bothering me. But if somebody's, for example, just a short thing, just for example, somebody is like indifference or anger or what do you call, those things bother me. Thank you. I don't know where I fit in.
Okay, so here's you see the circles, and then outside of the circles you see self, partner, family, friends, work, and strangers, and outer world. So focus on one of those then. If you can, so what aspect? So to me, it sounds like you are being affected by other people, right?
I'm not myself, to be honest. But after waking up for Amrit Vela, I'm a lot stronger. Looking into Baba's eyes and getting the drishti, I feel I'm like a lot better for the past 2 weeks, because I make it a point. I told Baba I'm going to wake at Amrit Vela. So now I feel a lot myself, but still you can feel all these things hitting me back.
Yes. So we're going to look at how we can, by identifying what's actually capturing our attention and causing us to forget and go out of ourselves, we're going to learn to come back to ourselves. So that's this exercise is simply an exercise of being able to become aware of, this is an area, this is a area where I am needing some strength. This is an area that I need to work through. Okay? And it can be an area that I need to work through is my relationship to what other people are saying, thinking, or feeling. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
So the entire world is feeling crazy, right? So that's that's causing something on you.
Exactly.
Right? Okay. So that we take that into consideration. It's so the world is feeling crazy, and because the world is feeling crazy, it's affecting me. So we have to become aware that the world, the condition of the world is affecting me, right? And by doing that, that's the first step towards healing. That's the first step towards correction. We have to see, face what's there, be able to name it, and then from there we go into solution. Okay? Did everybody get enough time to actually identify something within themselves in today that is occurring, that is affecting them, bringing them outside of themselves? Is everybody ready to go to the next step? Yes?
Shall we concentrate a little more?
Well, go ahead.
Shall we concentrate a little more on this being yourself and nothing bothers you?
Yeah, so we're going to explore how to go beyond these influences, and also some techniques by which to do that, to accomplish that, so that we remain within ourselves, even beyond the sound, beyond the noise, beyond the confusion, beyond the chaos, beyond the other. And to also inside of ourselves to create the right story, the right environment, to churn the right way, so that we create the right relationship with these things that are happening. So we don't say that these things are not happening. We don't avoid things. We face things as they are, right? We don't need to add or subtract to it. We need to see it for what it is. So that's the first step. So all we're seeing is what is there in front of me that's causing me or influencing me to go out of myself. Okay, so the next step is to understand, just think about your age. We don't have to say anything about your age, but just think about your age. You've been around for the day you were born to the present day, to today. And during this entire time, all these circles of influence, right? All these aspects of your life have informed you, have given you information. And this information is the bag of goods, as I call it, the bag of goods that you carry around with yourself. And this bag of goods, it's everything that you believe to be true or false, right or wrong. And these are referred to as belief systems. The belief systems of a person or society is the set of beliefs, ideas that they have about what is right and wrong, and what is true and false. So you carry around this bag of goods, right? And some of us have a really heavy bag. Now this bag, this individual is carrying here in this image, do you think it's a very balanced bag? Or is it a mix?
It's too heavy for him.
It's too heavy for him, yes. So sometimes we carry a really heavy bag and it feels like it's really heavy for us. Have you ever been in that situation where all of a sudden everything that's inside of you felt heavy?
Yes.
Yeah. So some of the things that we carry, are not so useful, and they just need, have you ever done spring cleaning? Or just cleaning in the house, where you go into every closet and you let go of everything you don't need?
Yes.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So this bag of goods, it comes to a point like this present moment is only pushing us to actually act. And what's the action that we need to take? We need to take inventory. We need to take inventory of what actually is inside of me in terms of my belief systems that is causing me to either become resilient, see the possibility, heal and remain stable, or become fearful,
No, not
fearful, angry,
no.
right? So all these things. So we're going to take a look at my bag of goods. So we're going to look at my bag of goods and how my bag of goods is either causing in a positive way or causing me to become weak. So I'm going to explore my belief systems. So because this bag that I've been carrying, not everything I've been told, not everything my parents told me, not everything all the groups that I belong have told me, not everything my friends tell me, not everything I've told myself is valid, is useful. So now I'm going to start paying attention to what comes up inside of me. So this is a journey to look inside and see what's there, to face it. What's there? What's coming up for me? In this particular moment, what is coming up for me? To have the courage to see, to witness the scene, whether a sad, hurtful, beautiful. So it doesn't matter what quality it takes, it's just our ability to be courageous enough to watch it, whatever it is. So we're going to look at this, how this will positively affect us when we start cleaning up that bag of goods and become lighter. Or would anybody like to keep the bag just the way it is? That's okay too. Anybody?
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, we have to look at all possibilities, right? Everybody's...
It's too heavy.
It's too heavy, yeah, I agree.
Obviously, because we don't want to have, only we are coming out to the Brahma Kumaris. We are taking knowledge.
So, brother, I have a question.
Yes,
So, the
please.
bag also contains positive qualities like honesty, courage, spiritual power. Then why does that bag become heavy? Should
Well,
ideally be a light, right? It has peace, it has enthusiasm, purity.
has anger, it has scarcity, it has
Okay.
temporary, it has fear, it has control, has ownership.
Hoarding.
Okay, so because it is mix of both, that's why it is heavy.
Well, it's heavy because the relationship we create to it becomes heavy too. So it's not just what's in the bag, it's our relationship to what's in the bag. Sometimes my relationship to what's in my bag is, if it doesn't work, throw it out. But some people have a relationship, this is absolute, I cannot change this. I cannot change anything that's in my bag. So therefore, even though it's hurting them or causing problems with them internally and also externally in their relationship, they refuse to let it go because either it comes from your culture, it comes from your tradition, it comes from religion, it comes from wherever it comes. But for whatever reason, their relationship is, this is absolute. So there's no flexibility in the relationship. So no matter what, whether they're being harmed by that relationship or not, then they remain in it. So the bag becomes heavy. So, and also the point in terms of the bag is that we carry a mixed bag of goods. Some things are good, some things are neutral. They neither give us, they don't change us, they just, they keep neutrality going. And then others become really heavy. Like if you anger very easily because of something you believe, right? Then that anger you're carrying, you're carrying every situation you created, every relationship, every experience that you created, every memory that you created, and whatever memory that has anger, that you created that space of anger, then you're carrying it with you. So it's also, just to be clear, it's not a judgment, right, of right and wrong. It's simply, this works for me. It's more of a discernment. I discern what actually stabilizes me. I discern what actually brings harmony to me. I discern what actually brings beauty to my relationships. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's really about that, just looking at what it is. It's not about saying this is horrible, this I cannot touch. No, it's not about that. It's simply about looking, facing what's there, whatever it is, beautiful or ugly, it doesn't matter. It's just what it is. That's what being a witness to myself means. So now I want you to take that situation that you imagined before today, that one thing that is causing you to come out of yourself. And I want you to just go through this questionnaire, simple tests to see if your bag of goods needs to be cleaned up. And I want you to take that situation and I want you to check off yes or no on the questions relating to that question, to that situation. Does everybody understood that? Everybody clear?
Yes.
Good.
Are we supposed to tick?
Just you can check it off or
Eyes?
with your eyes you mentally, or if you have a piece of paper with a pen, if that's easier for you, then do that.
Oh no, I'm just having a small phone. It's okay. I'm fine. I'm fine.
Do you not have a visual of this?
I do. Like in 2 sections. I did take a look at it, brother.
Okay. Okay. So you can see the image, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. If there's someone in the group who cannot see the image, I'm happy to read it out. So do I feel good about the way I am being?
Yes.
Am I experiencing fear?
No.
Am I taking responsibility for my part in the situation?
In the center.
In the center, there's no center here. There's yes or no.
Unfortunately.
Yes, we sometimes, because we're looking for a way out of things, we create a center. We create an option that doesn't exist. So become aware of those things. Am I experiencing anger?
Yes.
Am I capable of listening to myself or others?
Yes.
Am I taking it personally, whatever that situation is?
Sometimes, it's again the center. Yes, no.
There's no center, sister.
I'm creating something for myself.
So, am I judging or blaming?
Sometimes.
Sometimes, yes. You keep going into that centerpiece that does not exist.
Yes,
we'll work on that.
Yes.
We'll work on that. So, is everybody else finished?
Is my thinking negative? Sometimes again, like.
Yeah. So am I reacting to the world?
Exactly. Yes.
Am I resisting?
Sometimes.
Am I defending myself? Do I feel attacked?
I go into silence now.
Yeah. Do you have expectations?
Sometimes, yeah. But then when you take Baba's knowledge, and I also like listen to Buddha and Jesus, nothing is permanent. So you got to not to have any expectation, live for the moment.
Yeah. Do you want to control the situation?
Yes.
Yes. Control is a big thing for a lot of us at one
Yes.
point or another.
Yeah, I want to have my way, right?
Yeah. Are you complaining?
Not complaining, but it's tough
In the
situation.
middle, right? In the middle.
In the middle, exactly, brother.
Are you needing
Thanks for reading my mind.
Yes. Are you needing something from the other?
No.
Chris, can you just go ahead, please?
Hi, it's actually Rebecca, not Chris, but I'm on I couldn't get in, so we're on a different computer, but my concern, Santi, is I look at these questions and I think I have more yeses than nos.
And I'll ask you a different question. Why is that concern?
Oh.
So remember, the exercise is not to judge ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And that's the step that we're looking at this, and then now we begin to judge ourselves. So the exercise is to just witness, to be detached viewers, and we're looking at a scene. And then what we're doing is we are looking at our feelings and the way we are activating, right? So we're just observers of this. We don't need to say bad or good, or right or wrong. We're just looking for what it is. We're noticing that there's a feeling there, right? So we're not creating judgment. So there's no reason, even if all of them were yes, there's no reason to feel bad about this. This is the first step towards taking action to reversing the situation, right? To transform it.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So we'll go to the next step. So one of the things that happens, as we noticed, even in these simple exercises, one of the things that happens a lot in our conversations is that we play what is called the blame game. And what that means is that we look at the situation and we look at it from the perspective of what is doing to me, right? What is this situation, or what is this person doing to me, right? Is that true? Or what are they doing to me? Or what are they causing upon me? Right? No? You never look at it from them doing something to you? Anyone? All of a sudden everybody went silent.
Sometimes,
yes. That middle option keeps coming up.
mm-hmm.
I think that's something yes, I think that's something called I am not always in my full mind. I am not always in my remembering, right? So when we go from, we're in the middle, sometimes we do this, sometimes we don't. It means that it's indicating that we need to work on our stability of having the power to make choices that bring harmony and create the right situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah, very true.
And one of the main reasons that harmony cannot catch us in a lot of our situations because we take on this blame game. We begin to play the victim role. Does everybody understand the role of I'm a victim?
Yes.
No.
No? Somebody said no. Can you please go ahead and ask the question if you have one?
So like it's for the blame game. So sometimes in some situations you feel that you're right, or something is that the way you are responded or reacted depends, and then you try to say no, this is not my fault. So this is kind of blame, right? That if it's not mine, then somebody else.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. Yeah. So this is what we're trying to understand here. This is the blame game.
That's correct. Yes, your understanding is right. So what happens is that in the blame game, it's somebody else who did it, somebody else who's responsible, right?
Yep.
So somebody is causing upon me, somebody wronged me, and somebody hurt me. And it could be as simple as, you looked at me a certain way, therefore I'm justified for being mean to you, right?
I won't
Yes.
be, but the is.
What was that?
No, like if somebody is not okay to me, well, I won't be mean in return because that's not what we have been taught. You know, all right. I turn to Baba and say, oh God, help me and bless that person, may all beings be well and happy. But since I'm a foreigner to this land and I don't have family and I never got what I wanted, but thank God the COVID came and I got the Brahma Kumari lessons on Zooming, you know, that's the only blessings. I count my blessings also in a negative situation.
Yeah. So what happens is that one of the main things that when we are blaming something or someone or a time or whatever it is, the wind, sometimes the wind did this to me. The daylight did this to me, right? The water did this to me. So we find something to blame because we're not willing to look at the role that I am playing in the situation. And so a lot of times when we also, Baba, or the directions we receive in the practice is that we need to look at who am I being in every moment. And by looking at who am I being, I am taking responsibility. So what am I responsible for creating in this moment? And if I have created something that has caused me to feel bad, it is my doing, right? Because who creates internally for you?
Myself.
Huh?
We do.
Myself.
Yeah, that's one thing that you're always in control of. Nobody can touch. What happens inside of me is in my control. Can you believe that?
Yes.
Yeah. So
we do believe, but we do believe, and now we have the knowledge, but things is practice.
Yeah, it's practice. It's also a form, it's a need to remember that. So in the situations when it's necessary, guess what happens? We forget. So in the moment, I need to remember that I am creating the thought that I am now storing inside of me that may be causing pain. So I pay attention to the thought I'm creating, and I pay attention to it because that will not only create the space inside of me, but also it'll create the relationship outside of me. Whoever it is that is in that with me in that situation will then get the repercussion of the way I am internally creating. Does that make sense? So I create a negative thought inside of me that's going to negatively affect me, but in turn, it's going to negatively affect the other, right? So I have no one to blame, but I have responsibility that I am playing my role here. So if I need to change something in the situation, I start by looking at what part am I playing. So I never look at myself as the victim. I look at myself as I am responsible for the way I'm thinking, for the way I'm feeling, and for the way I'm being, right? So in order to get outside of being able to check yes on that list, one of the things that we have to look at is, am I blaming anyone? Or am I taking responsibility in the situation? What's my role in the situation? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Any questions? So the other thing that it also happens, are you able to accept each individual spiritual right to think in their unique way?
Yes.
Feel as they do, and freely choose their actions? Yes to all three?
Not always.
Not always. Yes. Yes, we forget sometimes. So this is very important as spiritual beings. The first lesson is I, as a spiritual being, I look at myself. First, I start with myself, right? So I look at myself and I understand that I am a unique being. There's no one else like me, right? I have a reason to love myself. I am unique and I have a role, a purpose. I have the freedom to create the thought in the way I am inspired in, right? That I choose to create. And those thoughts will inspire feeling. So I am also free to feel the way I do because I'm a unique being. And the way I take in information is unique. So therefore I see the world in a certain way, and that's why those situations cause upon me in the way that they do. And then,
okay.
Uh-huh.
Brother, yeah, I have a question, sorry. So the first line, are you able to accept each individual's spiritual right too? And the bottom line, how strong is your self-respect? So how these two correlates? Because how strong is your self-respect? I understood with all this practice in Brahma Kumaris to start with yourself, forget yourself, forgive yourself, love yourself, start with all yourself. So that makes sense. But the first line, how correlates with this self-respect?
Yeah, so it correlates with self-respect because if I don't have self-respect, if I don't accept myself, then I can't accept the unique way another person thinks. If I don't have my own self-respect and sit in my royalty or my dignity, I do not agree with the way another person feels. And if I don't sit in my self-respect, the actions another person does are going to hurt me and are going to affect me in a way that is going to cause me to forget who I am. Right?
Yes, I have the follow-up question on this. So one thing is like in any situations, I understood that this is my role and I am playing my role. And if something does not happen, I can say the way I want or the way it should be. I can now protect myself by getting hurt, by having the understanding of self-respect and about the who I am. But about the work that is suffering, I can say, or not happening. So then it comes responsibility or some other control sometimes also that, no, I have my responsibility to make things right. So these two conflicts sometimes, so sometimes when I say, okay, I did play my role and I should not get hurt. At the same time, sometimes feel that the work that is supposed to get done is not suffering because kind of I'm taking hand off from there, saying that I did my role. And so this is two, if you can explain that how both we can balance.
Yeah, so self-respect and responsibility go hand in hand, right? Who are you responsible for?
Yes.
Yes.
So,
yourself, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Myself, yes.
So in this situation, what is your concern?
Yeah, okay, so my concern was like, suppose in the office, there's some work to be done.
Yes.
Okay. And that particular in situations, things are not happening right, and I am as a one role in that situations. They keep explaining or giving training. I can say in other words. Now things goes to escalate, kind of. So if I do the self-respect and I give the space to others the way they are, so am I complaining? If I go escalate, sometimes I feel, am I complaining, you know? So
Okay.
that's stop me.
Here's an example. Here's an example.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so we are able to see what's happening, right? And we're able to recognize that whatever we feel needs to occur because of our responsibilities at work, per se, these things need to be done, right? So there's a creative aspect to this. So it's not about becoming upset because of the situation that is not occurring, but it's actually about increasing your creativity and your resourcefulness and your ability to encourage others, inspire others. So what I would say is my responsibility in the situation, in the role that I am playing, if it's one to lead people and to inspire, then my responsibility is to be patient with myself as I create the right communication that will help others be inspired to move in the direction they need to. And then, you know, there's a certain aspect to that you just have to trust at a certain point and be patient with the process of them learning. Because as we said, you know, each individual is unique. Their experience is unique. So some people may need a little bit more attention, more time. So paying attention to the need of the other. So you using your intuition to actually create the solution for that individual to be inspired and to be motivated. So it's about creativity. How can I use my creativity to actually really look at solutions here? And going through the process with trust in yourself and trust that they will be able to do it. You know, if you see it as possible, and if you see it as the job done, without getting worried with where you are at the moment, but you see it clearly in your mind that is done, that also inspires and motivates people. So the power of the mind becomes very important. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, yes. Thank you, brother.
So what I see and how I see it causes in the environment, and it influences other people, right? So if people see you as being disturbed or being anxious or being anything, it's going to throw them off, right? So what we want to represent and we want to be, so that in order to stabilize the situation, is to be stable in ourselves, creative, perhaps add a little bit of let's have some fun in coming up with solutions. Let's have some fun in creating the space where we work together, right? So it's what role do you see yourself playing? And also, is there room for yourself to expand your role, right? How can you expand your role in order to be more inclusive or even participate in different ways that you normally would not? Does that make sense?
Yeah. That makes perfect sense, yes.
Yeah. So when we get into these situations and we notice these clues where we feel a little bit out of ourselves, right? We are choosing to excuse ourselves by choosing that middle way that doesn't exist in a yes or no situation. Then we become out of focus. There's never anything wrong. It's just simply we've entered a different state. And this particular state is one that actually is out of focus, right? So each moment is occurring the way it needs to based on the work that we have created, that we are doing. And each moment is occurring so that it's a continuous expansion, right? So the fact that I feel out of focus, a lot of times there's aspects of shame, there's aspects of feeling uncomfortable, but actually the fact that we feel out of focus is just an opportunity for us to refocus. And it's nothing more. It's an opportunity for me to work harder, to create a plan for myself to expand, to move forward, right? To elevate, to strengthen. And these words that you see here, fear, defensiveness, I have to defend myself because I'm feeling attacked. I'm in doubt. I'm in doubt of the situation. I'm in doubt of myself, and I'm in doubt of the others. I feel hurt, right? Things are not going the way I am. This person is looking at me a certain way. So all these things are total distractions, nothing more, to create this feeling that I may be broken, that something's wrong. But in fact, all that is occurring is I'm out of focus. So a good question to ask is, am I feeling in focus or out of focus? Two different conditions, right? Two different conditions. One is out of focus and one is in focus. So all I have to do is bring myself into focus by remembering, not forgetting. So forgetfulness takes me out of focus, and it causes all these different feelings to be felt. It causes all these types of thinkings to occur. And then it caused all this confusion, and all these feelings also cause a wrong action that doesn't give me a good cause and effect. So it's all that's happening. We don't need to become anxious or impatient. We need to actually say, yes, I see myself. I'm out of focus. It's time for me to work a little bit harder, right? All I have to do is refocus myself, remember. Does that make any sense? I know that it seems, the way I am speaking, it seems like, wow, it's oversimplified. It's so simple, it sounds so simple, right? But in fact, when in the real moment, sometimes it can be challenging. But the only reason why the challenge is there is because you're ready. When we go into challenge, the challenge is there is because you're ready to make the shift. And now
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was going to say, what I encounter is I realize everything you're saying because I've been, I've listened to other spiritual messages and webinars, but when it happens, you're caught in the moment. Sometimes you react and you know what the right thing is, but the emotional state, and then I feel angry at myself because why wasn't I better? Because I felt like I got caught, like in that web, and somebody's spinning it, and then you say things, and then you later on you say, I should not have said that. And you know that you're like happening in slow motion, but sometimes it's like those emotions take over, when you get out of focus, and you see that. It's really hard sometimes. So what can I do to get myself to catch myself when it's happening? Then I need to step out of it. What is the trick? What's the magic for that?
Yeah, that's very interesting, because one of the things, I've studied many different paths in terms of techniques and methods and philosophies and whatnot. But the thing that I find very useful is how practical and how easy this particular path is when it comes to what's the answer to when I feel out of focus to come into focus. And it's really as simple as just forcing myself to go into silence. Right?
Yes,
and
you're right.
It's really simple. It's to remain still and to just be with what's there. And as you practice this, what happens is that you build power, you build resilience. The inner strength allows you to watch the entire film just the way it plays out. And to watch it, not from the sense of fear, but watch it in the sense of, this is who I'm being, to understand. Once you understand something, right? So one is I am aware of it. The other is I understand the condition. And then the next step is in that silence, the solution comes. This is what I need to do to fix it. And in that silence, what happens is that you also connect to that very point that we're trying to return to. That point of understanding, that point of knowing. And it's always simple. Who am I? I am what? And it's really powerful. You know, well, we'll go to the next thing, but do you understand what I'm saying? It is a very important thing to be able to answer, because in this process, we begin to question, you know, who am I and what am I? So it's not just who, right? What am I called? But it's what am I? What am I made out of? That becomes really important for us to understand. And a lot of times when we are in that space of trying to excuse ourselves, we feel like puppets, motivated by the external influence. So just imagine, when I feel out of myself, when I feel out of confused, I feel like a puppet. I don't feel like I can move my hands the way I want them. The words inside my mind are not the words that I want to experience. The feelings that are coming out of me are not those feelings that I want to feel, right? So I feel like something else is controlling the situation. Something else is motivating the thinking, motivating the feeling, motivating the action. So I feel like a puppet. So the journey is to go from that experience of puppet to that experience of I am a master authority. I saw this, I read this beautiful phrase. It basically said, take custody, to take custody of your mind and direct it so that it creates a world that is paradise. Okay, so it's very simple. Take custody means take control, take full responsibility that it is my mind, and that whatever that mind is creating is my doing. And therefore, I have a choice to create a beautiful paradise, right? At any given time, when I come to the realization of who I am, I have that choice to go from ugly to beautiful, from sad to happy. In that awareness, I can choose. So just imagine, what universe have I created in my mind? So if I asked you all, what universe is inside your mind? How do you see the world? How do you see yourself? And are those ideas simple ideas, or are they really an embodiment, an authentic reality of what you are experiencing in the world? So is there alignment between what's inside and the way you're reflecting outward into the world? How is it that you choose? What is it that you created inside of you? What does that look like? What is that bag of goods created for you? What's the image of yourself, about who you are, why you're here, your purpose? Your sense of belonging. And all this creation that you yourself created, all that creation is influencing you. Is it creating beautifully? So if you had a choice, would you be a puppet or would you be a master authority of this universe? So, as I said before, many people, many paths exist in the world, and they all use different ways of connecting to that point, to that center, to what I call the anchor. My anchor, anytime I am outside of myself, I go into silence, silence being my anchor, so that I can anchor in silence to I am. And then I choose what I remember. So many people choose to come back to that sense of center through the breath. They use breathing experiences. They chant. They do mantras. Sometimes it's just simply about engaging yourself in activity. I feel totally focused by riding my bike every day or running 200 miles a day, by meditation, by yoga. But here, what we're going to do is we're going to look at knowledge. How is it that I can accumulate knowledge, put knowledge into myself that will create a universe that feels like paradise, and also is like it is paradise internally and externally, because the way I activate, the way I relate with it. So I'll ask an important question. Do you feel that you are an important building block in the world? Do you feel you are an important, an essential, not just important, essential building block in the world? Anyone?
Well, I've come to realize that we're all connected in some sort of way or another. Whether it's the birds, the nature, anything, we're all connected. So we are all these thoughts collectively together, the human.
Yeah.
So I don't know how else to explain it.
Mm-hmm. But how do you feel about yourself being an essential building block in this universe? That without you, the universe would not exist the way it is.
I never thought of that.
Yeah. So I think that that's part of the question here, is for us to begin to think about how I, just by moving my finger and shifting the universe. Because when I move my finger, the ether around it is changed. Every thought I have changes the universe, because it adds a quality to the collective, like you mentioned, right? So everything that I do, every thought, every feeling, every action, every vibration that I create, even before I speak it, those thoughts have gone and added a certain quality to the world. That's how important we are. So it's not just what relates to our lives and to our relationships, it's what we do relates to the entire universe. Right? So
I accept that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, brother.
So again, meditation is another tool. So how do I get to that center? How do I create that stamina, that strength, that stability to able to, whenever I feel out of focus, to come into focus? So I use silence, I use meditation, right? And in this form of meditation that we practice, we don't practice going into nothingness. We actually practice the capacity for me to, I am seeing, I am witnessing. What is it that I'm witnessing? I'm witnessing and experiencing myself outside of the physical body, and I'm allowing myself to expand into my other form. So there's a relationship and understanding that is being developed in meditation. And in this meditation, the power of the mind becomes very important, because it's how I use the mind to create the environment in my meditation that creates my universe, that causes and allows me to change my universe. So in meditation, I am looking at what exists, what is there, and at the same time, I look at what should not be there and I see it as waste. So I'm able to discern, this is good, this is not good for me. So my intellect becomes alive, and now we'll speak about that a little bit more. So meditation is a form of purification. It's medicine for the soul. It's where I begin to experience myself outside of the exterior influences. I begin to experience the original, that point. And as a consequence of me spending time in meditation, I begin to purify. I awaken to new possibilities. I energize. I am able to become flexible and change perspectives. I balance. I begin to connect to the different aspects of my being. So how do I go from unfocused to focus? I force myself. I create a determined thought and choice to sit or just go into a mental state of conscious awareness of who I am. Meditation does not mean I have to sit a certain way. Doesn't mean I have to create a certain environment. Doesn't mean that I need certain aromas. Doesn't need sounds. It just means I need to shift my consciousness inward. And as I do that, what happens, all those circles of influence, all that waste begins to be washed away. And I get closer and closer. And the experience of me actually connecting and experiencing my original, what's there originally, begins to increase. And as I do that, I get to the point. So the soul, an eternal point of light energy, life force consciousness. So as I get to that point, how many of you in your meditation have experienced a sense of expansion? You sit there and all of a sudden, even in the first tries, the first times that you meditated, it just seems to, that sensation of I am expanding. Sometimes I expand even outside of the body. Sometimes it feels scary because I seem to be expanding so far out of my body, right? But it's just about witnessing the experience and allowing to whatever happens to happen. So meditation brings me to the first experience of my eternal self, myself. that thing that is original. And it also begins to do something very interesting. It changes my sense of my relationship with the idea that I'm a temporary being. So death simply does not exist. It is an illusion which arises in the minds of people. It exists because people identify themselves with their body. They believe that the body is going to perish sooner or later, thinking that their consciousness will disappear too, meaning that their memories, all the experiences that they've had in this lifetime will disappear, be forgotten, go into the shadow. In fact, consciousness exists outside of the constraints of time and space. That means that it's eternal, cannot be destroyed. And just to make sure, is anybody in the session who is not comfortable with using the term soul? Because I will be using it as a form of just referring to the original. Is everybody okay with the term?
Yes, brother.
Yes.
I am okay.
Yes. So the other thing that we begin to experience is that sense of expansions and connection to these different resources that we have inside of us, and those resources that then begin to heal us, to separate us, to help us sort of move away from what's real and what's false, what's true, right? What's original and what's temporary. It's important for us to understand the dynamics of how these different aspects of how we are, this being that we are, integrate, work together. So the soul itself is an eternal space. It has no gender. The body itself is temporary. It's material, right? It's mass. It will break away, has a temporary time, has a gender. And these two forms integrate into becoming one system called the integrated system. And when we fuse these with the right understanding, right awareness, we can maximize the reason why I'm here, right? And also my ability to work with all that I am, all the tools that I have inside of me, all those treasures begin to open up. And so understanding how this thing works, how this soul works outside of just the physical body. With physical body, we as a society, as a collective, we have pretty good understanding of how it works, but very little sense in practical sense how the soul actually functions, how it creates, how it cause and effect of the soul in relationship to the body. And does it have certain aspects, like the body has a hand, a brain, eyes, right? Does the soul have these components as well? And so the soul has basic components like a conscious mind. The conscious mind is creating thoughts. So the brain does not think. And from that conscious mind, also emotions are born. So thoughts are created, emotions are born. The intellect is that thing that looks at our bag of goods and helps us in that state of meditation, in that state of looking as a witness, to say, you know, based on the information you have given me throughout your life, and based on your internal laws that you've created, you've told me that this is the way you want to live. So this works and this doesn't. So it helps you discern, it helps you judge, helps you discriminate based on the information given them. So the cleaner the information that you feed your intellect, the quicker it is able to make beautiful choices, right? And the more you will create actions in the world where you don't need to excuse, blame, but where you feel your own sense of dignity, self-respect, and mastery. So with the help of your intellect, you're able to align, right? You're aligned. Your internal world, the way you say I am this, is aligned with the way you're being in the outer world. So this information then gets turned into action using the body sense organs. And then those actions are then stored in the subconscious mind in terms of memories, impressions. So remember, there is nothing that you create internally that is not felt internally and then also is adding to the situation in the outer world. So whether it's a positive or a negative, okay, it will have a cause and effect. And those creations of yours do not have to be spoken. The minute you create a thought, it's a vibration. And that vibration leaves you sometimes even before you speak. Okay? Does anybody have a question? So as I sit in meditation and I begin to connect to myself and I begin to really relate.
Go back to it. I was speaking on mute, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. So in subconscious mind, we are saying memories, impressions. So these are also not physical, none of these. So the memories stores or information stored in our brain. That is actually only the physical things inside. It's actually my understanding so far. So I as a soul or consciousness, we get information from brain as a memories and process, right? So how the soul or myself is aware about having a right or wrong, good or bad things from the bag.
Yeah, so the intellect actually, so I've accumulated a lot of things, but it's a choice. It's not something that you're born with original qualities, right? And as you go through these different stages of your life, you accumulate different forms of knowledge, information. This is how you're supposed to be. This is the way you're supposed to look. This is the way you're supposed to act. This is good. This is bad. So all these different spheres of experience on the outer world are informing you. But you originally have certain qualities. And so as you get more and more information, that original information goes deeper and deeper into the subconscious mind, right?
Yes.
It stays there. And so the reason why we're confused is because the intellect then is filled with the good, the bad, the not so good, the in-between. You know that big heavy bag that we're carrying? The intellect holds that. And so every situation, every thought that the mind actually creates, the subconscious mind creates, is then driven to the intellect, and the intellect then discerns, looks at it and says, based on what you said, it's okay. That's why sometimes, depending on what lens, okay, let's say that you personally believe something, but at work, you're a completely different personality. So your beliefs are different, your values are different at work than they are personally, right? There's some shared values, but a lot of times what we do is we sometimes it's okay for us not to be so truthful at work because it's required to do that, right? So there's these different expectations that we create, and the intellect then starts to look at that and begins to become confused. And that's what actually causes us to become out of focus as well.
Okay.
So as we are, as,
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, please finish. Yeah.
You understand?
Yes, I do. Yeah,
okay.
I did.
Yeah, so the cleaner the intellect, that's why we go through the process of, I sit in silence, I look at my bag of goods, and I begin to throw out the waste. I begin to see it for what it is. Is it something that I am choosing to live by? Does it help me? Does it create positive relationship with myself, and then beautiful relationships with others and the world, right? Do I remain stable and happy? Do I remain in focus? Or does this particular belief, this thing in my bag of goods, does this throw me off and then cause me to become out of focus? So that's what that process is happening, is that I'm sitting in myself and I'm watching. And there's a process where I am choosing the stuff that I'm holding as the stuff that belongs to me, but then I begin to let go of the stuff that just was fed to me. It was given to me by some experience, by some part of my world, right? So there is a process where I begin to choose. So I am given, all this stuff is thrown at me throughout my life, but then I sit in silence. I begin to listen to the inner sound of my original. And then that helps me say, this is good and this is not good. And so I begin to choose.
Okay. Actually, I have, there's a lot of questions coming in my mind specific to intellect, memory, and those, the good and bads, that the bag of good and bads. So intellect, like when we're silent, we can see our intellect and we can make our own decisions, get own thoughts. So intellect also get input from that we're carrying. So those carrying is from subconscious mind.
Yeah. So what's happening? So
where those. Okay,
yes, go ahead, brother.
Yeah. So okay. So like actually, I'm trying to do a lot of mindful meditations on these topics, but still I'm not there. So like in brain, it is information are stored, but I can understand. Subconscious mind is very, like this is what my understanding is, very close to myself, the soul. That so far my understanding is carried through our life, and the impressions, the way I am today or in this birth, is that has also impact on me, and also the new experience that coming through in this life. So the intellect, how this information is, like we are seeing that bag of good and not good. Is that bag is intellect? I think so, or is that bag is in subconscious mind and memory and subconscious combination of all this? Is that bag?
Yeah, the intellect actually holds the beliefs that you have given it. So everything in the bag is in the intellect. The subconscious holds all the impressions. So the intellect has helped you make decisions, and some great, some not so great, right? And some of them being neutral, and all those actions. So all these aspects are aspects of the soul. They are not happening in the brain. So the soul sends a signal to the brain so that it takes action. So it starts to motivate. So it's a chemical reaction that occurs in the brain, right? It's a magnetic field, electromagnetic field that's created in the brain in response to whatever the soul is giving it. Once it creates the actions, it goes into action based on what you're feeding it, then what the result of that action gets stored away in the subconscious. So the subconscious is actually a holder of those patterns that you created based on what you told, what you've done. So these are actions and impressions. Okay, that's why they hold habits. They hold the instincts. They're holding impressions. So so they are informing your system, the soul system, by actually saying the minute when you create an action, it will hit your subconscious, and then perhaps a memory will occur that reminds you of something else, and then it goes into your conscious mind. So consciously you triggered something and it comes into mind, and then that mind creates a thought based on the subconscious. So it is informing it, right? But it's not directing it.
It make more sense to me now. Okay, yeah. One more question. Sorry, I'm holding a long on this. So memory, again, it is with subconscious. It does not have to do anything directly with the brain. It does not store in the brain, and that is being accessed.
That's right. The top circle are all functions of the soul itself. And it communicates, okay? It communicates with the brain by sending a message, okay? So it sends a vibration. So it sends light vibration, okay? It sends a vibration to the brain. The brain then transmits that. So it receives the signal from the brain, from the soul, and then the soul begins to create electromagnetic messages. It creates its neuronic patterns, and then it sends messages throughout the body to do what you told it needs to do, to take the action, right?
Right.
Because the brain is governing, the brain governs the body, but the soul governs itself, and it governs the body too. Does that make sense?
Yes, brother, a lot. No, yeah.
So the soul is the transmitter, while the body is the receiver.
Okay. So just with my now new curiosity on follow up this. So when the soul leave the body and come to new body, get the new body. So this faculty, like our mind, including conscious and subconscious and intellect, it carry forwards.
That's right, because it's part of the soul. That's the soul's body per se. That makes sense. Okay. That's the body of the soul. The conscious, intellect, and subconscious are the body of the soul. Those are the parts of the soul. Just like the hands and arms are the part of the body, the same way, conscious mind, intellect, and subconscious are the parts of the soul. That's what makes the soul.
So excuse me, if we, in people who get Alzheimer's disease or brain type of disease, they cannot think anymore or straight. Where does that come from? Can we relate that to the person's soul?
Yeah, what happens is that neuroscience actually is going in that direction of exploring, well, what happens in these kind of scenarios when, let's say, a brain is dead, considered brain dead. But they've noticed that when certain signals are sent are made conscious or come to the awareness of that individual, what happens is that the brain, when you do brain mapping, it indicates certain parts of the brain that react to certain stimuli. And so what they've noticed is that the brain itself is actually lighting up. So they say the brain seems to have something else sending a signal, and that signal is causing the brain to map the way it would normally map, but that it has the inability to actually communicate with itself, with the rest of the body. So what's happened is that the brain itself is only receiving messages, but where are the messages coming from? Because the brain is not lighting up normally, right? The brain is basically considered brain dead, because it doesn't have the capacity to actually send the signals to the body to actually cause it to move and to create action. But when you send a signal, when you bring a certain stimuli, what happens is the brain's still lighting up. That means it's receiving, it has the capacity. Something is receiving the stimuli and sending the brain action.
I agree with the brain death part, because let's say when a person is in coma and the physical signs are there, the physiological signs are there, but the person is brain dead, the soul is not there or not connected. That I get, but I don't get the Alzheimer's part. Let's say a patient has dementia, the brain is not working right. Because you say the brain does not think,
Yeah,
but
so,
I'm trying to highlight the importance of brain itself.
Yeah. So you know the brain actually, if you map out the brain, the brain is actually mapped, so certain parts of the brain actually are responsible for certain types of memories, long-term, short-term, right? So
Yes.
the map of the brain in terms of its activation of the body is very specific. And so the signals that are stored with the memory, so it no longer has the ability to communicate with the soul. So it's no longer able to transmit to the soul, but it's able to receive. So it's a one-way. So the soul is transmitting, but the body is not receiving. Does that make sense? So therefore, the body, the part of the brain that would normally be able to communicate the memory, right, is not functioning.
So there is a misconnection between the soul and the brain?
That's right. What happens is that the soul is still within the body, but the brain's ability to actually receive the messages is not there. But it's able to, it receives it, but it's not able to activate motion.
That makes sense. However, if that has a genetic reason, I know, like Alzheimer's disease is due to a mutation in certain genes. So it does have a bodily reason behind it. It's hard to, maybe in a belief system we can understand that Alzheimer's disease happened due to misconnection between the brain and the soul. But then we know that Alzheimer's disease is due to problem with some genetics for sure.
So the genetics is an issue of how the body was created, and the molecular structure and the particle structure of the body itself. So something within that particular system. That's why it's important for us to understand that there's two systems here that actually create the integrated system. So yes, genetically speaking, the body itself has a certain exposure to creation, right? It's created a certain way. The body itself is an eternal thing that is neither created nor, it has no beginning nor end. It's always existed. So it's an eternal thing, right? But the body itself is temporal, and the laws that govern the body is very different too. The way it's created is different. But this can go into, again, this is an experiment, and I think that those are great questions. But for now, we'll move on to the next thing. But those are great questions to explore, and neuroscience is a wonderful space right now. And also physics actually is doing a lot of beautiful research on brain to soul sort of dynamics. And there's actually a Science of the Soul full documentary that you might be interested in.
What is it called, the documentary?
Called Science of the Soul full documentary. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So so by understanding, by knowledge, using the knowledge of what I am, who I am, what I am, and understanding some of the things that happen, by actually just sitting in silence, we begin to connect to these things. And the next thing that I'll speak to is that at the heart of the soul is its original qualities. And the original qualities, so when I sit in meditation, I begin to clear away waste. If I was to clear away all the waste, all the stuff that I've been told, all the stuff that actually is not about me, okay, my original me, then I would be left with these original qualities: peace, purity, love, bliss, and spiritual power. And from those qualities, all other virtues come about. So I am a rainbow. Internally, I have this treasure chest of qualities, and those no one can take away from me. Those exist, whether you practice them, whether you activated them, those are in you, and they just remain dormant. So the way meditation begins to activate this is I sit in silence, as I sit and begin to connect to my original self. I begin to connect to these beautiful qualities. I open up that chest, and that chest radiates these qualities, and I begin to experiment with them. And one of the questions that we need to ask ourselves, perhaps we don't connect to peace in the way we connect to creativity. And so there's an aspect to this is, in order for me to create an anchor and to really create stability so that my choices are clear whenever I am in any type of situation, so that I don't go one time here, one time there, and one time, in an unknown space. So then my choices become constant. I create an anchor. And what I've noticed throughout my practice all these years is that when it doesn't matter what virtue I choose to practice on a daily basis, they are incredible anchors to come back to, because they allow me to see differently. They allow me to think differently. They allow me to just be differently. So when I anchor myself in these qualities, what happens is, at least I can always, when I feel myself out of myself, I come back to that space. I am a faithful, humble, peaceful, pure being. And when I work out of that, my whole process of the way my mind works, the way my heart works, and the way my whole body vibrates, changes. And one of the, so I want you to close your eyes for a second, and I want you to just really contemplate. Just take a deep breath and just contemplate and ask yourself, throughout my life, there's a quality in me that just comes out, and people talk about it. They call me kind, they call me sweet, so responsible, so attentive, so accurate. I want you to think of that quality, and I want you to think of, and if you can't think of that quality, think of something that you feel very close to, a human quality from this circle of virtues. I want you to just connect with it. Something that you feel very connected to, that you feel is needed in the world. And that you feel that you can make a commitment to it. That you can make a commitment so deep that you will anchor yourself. Whenever you feel lost, you will come back to yourself through using this connection. It could be love. It could be patience. It can be creativity. It can be playfulness. It can be responsibility. It can be trust. It can be respect. Whatever you choose, that's going to be your anchor. And I want you to contemplate. I don't like to force anyone to create a false statement, but I want you to contemplate that, unlike New Year's resolutions, those things that we've told ourselves that we will do, but then after a few weeks, that commitment gets broken. I want this commitment to be true for you. So contemplate making a commitment to yourself, to anchor yourself to this particular virtue in such a way that no matter how difficult, no matter how horrific, no matter how beautiful, that no matter what happens, you will always come back and you will use this power, this virtue, as your anchor. I am the virtue you've chosen. And when you choose to go back into focus, I want you to sit in silence and remember, I am this virtue. And begin to see what happens. How that power of that virtue begins to emerge in your thinking, in your feeling, in your perspective about the situation, in your perspective about the relationship of this situation to yourself and to the world. Solutions to the way I correct myself are not complicated. They're really super simple. I shift from one consciousness to the next. I choose the quality of my experience. And I act with that quality as my filter for my thinking, my feeling, my being. I stabilize myself. Would anybody like to share what virtue you will anchor yourself in? Anyone?
Love.
Love.
Yeah, no matter what someone talks to us, says to us, or no matter how their behavior is, I hold love in my heart for them.
And start with yourself always. So remember, I am love. So I am love. So it's not that I'm holding love. It's I am love in action. I am love seen. I am love listening. I am love speaking. I am love moving. Right? So just become the embodiment, because that will give you full power. That's how we become the masters, the authority of love. I am love.
Right.
Anyone else?
I'm kindness.
Kindness, yes. So I am kindness in my thinking. I am kindness thinking. I am kindness speaking. I am kindness moving. I am kindness walking. I am kindness seeing the mountains. I am kindness seeing this beautiful soul. And anyone else?
Respect for others.
Respect.
Yes. Whatever, whoever they are, they can be the worst drug addicts or whatever.
And does that include you too?
Yes, I do have to respect myself too. I have to start with me, how to learn and to respect myself and do my actions so that I wouldn't spoil my like. Okay, I know people outside, they sometimes they say I am like wanting to have my own way or stubborn or whatever. But then I say, okay, no, I respect myself. Maybe I better myself and respect the other person also for having said that. But it's tough.
But did you say, but it's tough?
Yeah, because it's not easy sometimes.
Yeah,
you know.
okay.
Yes.
So
and also, if let's say, brother, I have a situation like this. There's a little kid, like, who runs around, you can, no control. But when I try to give him respect and love, no matter who he is, I get a lot of objections from the other teachers. You shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. But I got to respect him because I know Baba, I know what humans, and it's another soul, a lot of sanskars. But how do I get about it also is not something that you will have to help me out. Thank you.
Yeah. So here's something for you to contemplate. An exercise for the next week to come, or from here forward. In the mornings, when you first wake up and you connect. If you're doing Amrivela, connect with Baba as I am respect, connecting to the one. And then as you get out of that state and you begin to just have your own conversation and contemplation, I am respect, contemplating. And then as you go to your next level of interacting with the ones around you, I am respect, speaking to these young soul. I am speaking to the world. I am being in the world. I am respect. So become the embodiment of respect, and that will also make it easier for you to remain stable in that quality. Because if you think you have respect and you're giving respect, it doesn't stabilize you enough in it. So I am respect speaking. See, it makes it so easy to be that. So remember, so just think, I am playing the role of respect, right? So now contemplate in that meditation, contemplate, what does respect feel? What does respect think? What does respect do? So make that part of your contemplation for that day, and then take that experience and add it to your internal universe, right? And so you're adding an experience and you're adding power to your ability to just immediately, when you need respect, you will become respect, because that's part of your rainbow of possibility. Does that make sense?
Yes, of course. Yes, everything you just tell others also makes sense. You know, it's so helpful. Yeah, you know, we didn't think that far. You just say, okay, I love the other person, but I don't say that. Okay, I love myself, and then I am love. You know, we don't keep saying. I do say sometimes, not always, but when you're in a crisis or something, it's difficult.
Yeah.
Okay, to be honest with you. Today, right now, I was like, from yesterday, preparing myself for this class. I don't know, just see the situation. I mean, I was asked to do some cooking for some almsgiving. I'm cooking from one side, talking to you, switching off the meeting, coming here, and you know, I'm asking Baba, oh, come on, what is this? I kept this day for you, kept this moment for you, I want this moment. So you can see the inner struggle. So I don't want to say it's an inner struggle, but I'm happy. To be honest, and the food came out very nicely. But then, you know, you keep this day for thing, and then you got to battle to listen to this class also. I don't want to miss.
Yes. So
just the situation I mean, you know.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just about accepting what's happening. I accept what's happening just the way it is, and I'm doing my best. And my best is going to get me to the next step in a beautiful way. So just remain in that self-trust. I trust that I am where I am needed. I trust that I am serving in the way that I need to serve. I trust that I am in the right place and time. Just where I am perfectly occurring. That makes sense? So
yeah,
again,
it does. Thank you so much. But it did really help what you said now. Like eased me out a lot, brother.
Oh, good. So churning is about creating the right environment inside my mind so that I am at peace. Right?
Churning that.
Churning. So I'm churning ideas. I'm churning a way of seeing with spiritual knowledge that allows me peace, that creates the environment for peace. I am churning ideas from spiritual knowledge that allows me peace of mind, that allows me to just sit in the moment peacefully. right? So churning is, I am creating an environment internally. That's what churning is about. It's not just about repeating words, or also one of the things that we need to also come to a new relationship. It's not just the reliance or dependency on Baba doing the work, right? Doing the transformation for us, but it's about Baba giving us the knowledge so that we can then do the work ourselves. And because that's really the journey. I need to transform whatever I need to transform for myself. I have been given the gift of knowledge. So creating that beautiful relationship. So in these moments where we are feeling out of ourselves, where we're not necessarily trusting what is occurring, right? The drama is perfect. So this is just another aspect of the larger picture of things. Where I am perfectly occurring. And if I need to make adjustments, I am flexible enough to make it. And what helps me, so as I sit in that silence and connect to myself, to that point, to that anchor, to that power of virtue, my virtues, what happens is something magical occurs. As I begin to play and really experiment with these virtues, another door of possibility opens. And that's the 8 powers of the soul begin to emerge. And for this exercise, there's many other resources and classes that you can explore in terms of these different topics, but this is just a little spice, a little flavor of it. That you can expand into. But for the purpose of this experiment, we're going to look at 2 of those powers, and because they help us choose, they help us discriminate. So the power to discriminate is the ability to discern, to be able to identify, to be able to understand the subtle and the separate, and separate what is true from what is false. And that sometimes is what creates us, that causes us to go into that out of focus space. So we're going to use the power to discriminate to be able to refocus ourselves, to be able to tell this is the right way of seeing this situation. This is aligned with who I say I am. This is aligned with my virtue. Right? And also the power of judgment. And it is the ability to assess the quality of choices, decisions, and actions in yourself and in others. And that is it's kind of connected. One is to be able to say true or not true, right? The other one is the quality of my choice. What I have chosen is aligned with my virtues, or it's not aligned with my virtues, right? So what I chose needs to be improved, needs to be fixed, right? I need to understand the quality of my choice. And when I anchor my choices in my virtues, that speciality, the anchor, that virtue that you've selected, I can assure you that when you discriminate using that virtue, no matter what situation, the solution will come, the balance will come.
I would like to have the virtue of clarity, but I don't. What usually comes to me and I hear from others is kindness, but I don't think I have clarity. Isn't that the best thing we need for choices?
Well, it depends. Actually, clarity is very powerful, but it's also, it may not lead you to, depending on the situation, will depend on what virtue to activate. So if a situation is actually, in order for you to become clear, first you have to be able to express kindness. So clarity can come when you have created stability, right? So there might be some steps for you that require for you to just show a little bit of kindness first. And then by showing that little bit of kindness in the situation, what happens is you become clear. You become clear to be able to see, but you needed to give that little bit of kindness before that environment for clarity to fully realize. So what we begin to see is that there's a relationship with these virtues, that the minute I put out a virtue, it begins to activate other qualities as well. And it creates a whole world around it.
Thank you.
So the wonderful thing about the powers is that just imagine yourself as a superhero. Think of yourself as a superhero who is learning to master their gifts with deep determination. This is a very important word, determination. I don't do things with a, just a passing choice. I do things with determination. I don't do things with that idea of, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it, and I'm going to say that I'm going to do it just to please someone else or to fall in place with what everybody else is doing, or to do it because it's the new year, it's the holiday, right? But I'm doing it because I have created a determined connection to this particular practice, a determined connection to creating stability. So the power of determination is very powerful in allowing me to become clear, to discriminate. And these powers also begin with you looking inward and not looking outward. So you can never change anyone. You can only inspire people to change or to make adjustments to their thinking, their being, by you being a beautiful example of what you want them to experience. So it begins with us. And so these powers, as I sit in silence and I remember myself, my virtues emerge. And as I begin to activate and play and experiment with my virtues, not only internally by creating and churning the right environment and becoming an internal embodiment of these energies, I then, when action is required, I activate these virtues outwardly. I put them into action. I make them real. I accumulate experience. And that experience and that experimentation with these qualities then allow these powers to emerge, which help me in every situation to determine, to make it easy. So the powers make it easy for me to do the right thing, to create the right thought, to experience the right feeling, and to motivate the right action in terms of motion. So I want you to, we're going to take that same thought that you may have experienced in terms of and we're just going to see if two people would like to share that whatever it was that took them out of focus. And we're going to use the power to discern and see how we can use that. And we're going to use also that one virtue that you anchored yourself. So we're going to use those two elements to see how they can anchor us, bring us back into focus. Would anybody like to contribute to this experiment?
Sure, I can.
Go ahead.
What did you want me to tell you?
Tell us whatever it is that is causing you to be out of focus in the earlier experiments. Something that's troubling you, something that is causing you to fear something you don't want to fear, or have a feeling that you don't want to feel anymore. Think a certain way that you don't want to think.
The one when you showed all the circles and where you were
Yeah,
at.
exactly. Yeah.
And I had told you that I don't feel any of those, but then the roles that other people are putting on you, like
Yeah.
you're a mother, you're a wife, or you're a woman.
Yeah.
All those gender roles that you
Yeah.
should be a certain way. Okay. So, and what is my virtue? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. So what's your virtue? And then, what is the situation what is influencing your instability?
How somebody behaves or what they say,
So,
and then
okay.
my reaction to that makes me, and I realize it, like I said to you earlier.
Yeah.
And then I'm caught in it and I react instead of stopping and being in silence and reflecting, taking time. So that is what bothers me, because I realize it later and I'm very angry with myself because I knew better. I should have been caught up in it.
What's your virtue? What's the virtue you decided you would anchor yourself in?
I'm very positive, very happy and positive.
Okay, so we're gonna go with positive for now. We're gonna use positive, okay?
Okay.
So, and we're gonna look at other people are saying, doing, whatever it is that they're doing, other people's actions causing upon me and causing a negative cause and effect in me, right? Is that what's happening?
Yes.
Okay, so positive. So I'm going to be a witness, right? So we're gonna look at this from a distance. We're gonna look at the situation. We're gonna exercise the power to just witness and face. So I'm going to face what's there. Other people are speaking. This particular person says this particular person says that. They feel this way, they act this way. They don't make me feel comfortable because of what they're saying, because of what they're thinking, because of what they're doing. So when I say they're not making, they're doing something to me, is that true?
No, because I'm doing it to myself.
Right. So power to discriminate, false or true. So who's doing what to whom? Who is damaging the situation?
They say something and then they leave. Whatever anybody wants to say, they say whatever they want.
Right. So everybody's being themselves, right? Whatever. Right. Remember the first where can you accept that everybody has a unique way of being?
Right.
Right.
Yes.
So positive. So I'm going to be in the positive witnessing of this. I accept that each one of those people who is thinking, who is feeling and doing has the right to think, feel, and do as they wish.
Even if it's wrong.
Yes, because then when you say it's wrong, it becomes a judgment, right?
That's true. That's
right?
True.
And also, we're going to agree to disagree, right?
Yes.
Right, because we're all unique beings. We all have different experiences. So I'm going to look at you as this unique being. Just like I am, I'm a unique being, and I have the right to think, feel, and be whatever it is that I am inspired to do so in this particular moment and in any moment. And as I wish to experience that for myself, I also want every other soul to experience as well. Right? So I'm discriminating from what is real and what is not real. So I am causing myself damage by not allowing others to be just the way they are, whether I agree or disagree with them, right? It's just the acceptance that they are who they are, right? And I also will contemplate if my choice will influence others. So if I am accepting to everybody who comes around me, I am accepting of their choices. But if I see something where I can benefit bringing a new perspective, a new experience, then what I will do is I will become the experience of that. So I am an example of what I want to share in this pot, right? So if you can be it, I assure you that other people will follow.
Brother, sorry
Yes.
to interrupt. Just a reminder, it's almost time to start the meditation.
Yes, I do realize that.
Okay, sure.
But thank you for the reminder.
Sure.
So does that make sense, sister? So I am going to shift the way I'm looking at things.
Yes.
I'm going to be taking responsibility, and I am going to also understand who I am being. What universe am I creating? What relationship am I creating? And is my first relationship with them real? Is it true or false? Right? And is my choice a positive one, or is it just creating disharmony?
Mm-hmm. That's
right?
true. Yes.
So it becomes very simple. We don't need to make it complicated. We need to work with what's there. And every one of these virtues is there, waiting to be activated. Right? So I turn it into, so I'm using the quality of positivity. I'm going to look at it from spiritual knowledge. Who am I? I'm a spiritual being. Who am I? I am positive. I am positivity thinking. I am positivity speaking. I am positivity acting. I am acting in this world. I am positivity creating. And by being that force, then I can discriminate what is real and what is not, what is valuable and what is not valuable. And I can let go of the waste. And what will remain is harmony. And I will also remember that I am only responsible for myself. Everyone else has the right to be who they choose to be. I don't judge who they are. I simply accept who and what they choose to create, whether I agree or disagree with them. And I choose to inspire them by being an example of what I think they require. And I also use the power of my mind to actually think of the quality that I see is required in them. And then what I do is I include them in my meditation, and I send them the vibrations of patience, love, harmony, clarity, whatever it is that they're requiring, right? So now, not only are you holding space for everybody, including yourself, but you're also playing a role in actually turning the world around. See, that's what world benefactor means. To become a world benefactor means that I understand who I am, I understand the gifts, and I understand what gifts are required in every moment. And when I use the virtues as my anchor, I remain still and quiet, and I'm able to see clearly. And then I add the powers, and with using the powers, I'm able to discriminate, I'm able to discern, I'm able to be more cooperative, whatever the power is required. But for this particular moment, I am able to see clearly. I am able to create clarity of my role and what it is that I want to bring into this conversation.
So I'm sorry, I just want to clarify. So what you're saying is when you sit in meditation, because I always had a difficult time with this and trying to understand this, because when you think of meditation, like you say, oh, am I going to say Om? Am I going to sit in silence? Then your mind starts, wandering again, and then you try to bring it back. And so focus on your virtue, basically.
That's right. Yeah, the mind is not supposed to, the mind will only wander when you are not directing it. So it would do its thing because that's its nature. It will create more thoughts, it will create whatever. But if you direct it, if you say, this is what we will focus on in this meditation,
okay.
So I'm going to churn the ideas, I'm going to churn the experience of I am positivity. And I am going to allow positivity to think. Positivity is now thinking. So you're going to look at the kind of thoughts that your awareness is bringing through that space. And through that, you begin to create a world specific to a situation that you're engaging, and then the solution will come through that engagement. So in meditation, it's not about me staying still. It's about me staying actively aware of who I am. And if there is something I need to resolve, that situation in front of me. And then in meditation, I also have another option, which I can go into further in other classes, but then you have the connection into the divine space. So that's another resource. So as I open up, as I clear away the waste, I sit still, I open my heart and to the original qualities of my being, and then the powers are awoken. In the same time, I'm learning to experiment and to connect with the different aspects of who I am. In practical terms, I take that internal churning, that internal dialogue that I am experiencing in meditation, and I put it into practical use in the moments.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that was very clear. Thank you so much.
And so all we're doing is basically doing this. I am like a camera. I am choosing to focus the lens, right? So at any given time, whenever I feel out of focus, I have the power to exercise focusing the lens. And all that means is that I need to focus my thoughts. And that's why I'm using my quality, my anchor, to focus those thoughts. I am this in thoughts. I am this thinking. I am peace thinking. I am peace feeling. I am peace acting. And this requires great trust and faith, right? So I trust myself and I have faith that my choice, no matter what it is, I am.
Brother, it's almost, it's 6:30 now.
Okay.
So we have other people joining for meditation.
Yes. So then what we will do now, so just remember, it's not difficult. Just using these practical terms to come back to the point, to refocus your thoughts, feelings, and actions. And it's very busy. I have faith and trust in myself in order to bring myself back where I need to be. Does that make sense for everyone?
Yes, brother.
Yeah, yes. It's easy.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. So I hope that you will stay for the meditation.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
And I think that there's going to be
This was a wonderful session.
And I believe that they recorded it and they will it'll be available to all of you.
Yeah, we have recorded. We will upload it by tomorrow.
Okay, great. Thank you all and have a beautiful evening.
Thank you for making it easy
Thank
for
you.
us to provide.
How do we access the recording if we needed to access it? How do we
Just be in touch with the center.
You can drop an email to the center's main ID and they will send you the link.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, Om Shanti, everyone.
Om Shanti.
Well. Remain in your anchor, whatever that may be, and go inward whenever you are out of focus. Remain in your strength.
Thank
Om
you.
Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
Nice to meet you.